From the swamp to the stars, it is that time of the night once again where we bring in little Timmy Seanor and the UFO report.
Nobody's gonna know.
They're gonna know.
Yes, Tim, it's been a busy week and we're not even at the beginning of the week yet. And already, man, there is UFO stories galore happening. And you know, this topic, it just, just when you think it started to die down, it just rushes right back up the mountain, Tim.
Yeah. And we're definitely going to run out of time tonight. And there's no way we're going to be able to cover everything. The headlines are bursting with information on this topic. So please kick us off, buddy. We'll use the time we have.
Well, no kidding. The big one is we got to start off with Lou Elizondo because he is pumped right up about an article in Simon & Schuster about UFOs and everything that's coming through here. Man, you gotta tell us this story.
Yeah, so I will do exactly that. And so Lou Elizondo tweeted out that in this quote today, and I'll just shoot it out as the tweet goes, "I'm aware of all the facts in regards to this true story, and to call it a bombshell story would be an understatement. Buckle up." Right? And so the link below is from deadline.com. And the headline reads, "Simon & Schuster imprint wins the bidding war for twist-filled memoir by U.S. intelligence officer tangled up in mysterious military program." And so the exclusive here from Deadline is that Simon & Schuster Imprint Gallery Books has won a bidding war for the North American publishing rights to a twist-filled true story rooted in intrigue surrounded a U.S. Air Force program. And so the logline for the memoir by Scott Andrews takes some time to unpack, but it's a doozy. Andrews is a former senior U.S. soldier and decorated intelligence officer who conducted global counterterrorism operations on behalf of the United States. And during a 36-year military career, after returning home from overseas mission, he began to suffer from a rare life-threatening ailment that defied medical explanation. And rather than simply succumbing, he instead began to experience special, inexplicable abilities, such as remote viewing, and his body began to heal, baffling doctors. And so as we read on in this story, again from Deadline, as he sought more information about his health, Andrews came across a file compiled for him by his late father, and it contained records from a past he did not remember, including documents indicating he was removed from school for weeks every year for the first through 12 grades. The records also contained a shocker that he received an honorable discharge from the U.S. Air Force and he worked in space intelligence, working in communications as a minor. And so Andrews maintains that he has no memory of having served in the U.S. Air Force. So this continues on with him making contact with doctors. And after making contact with some of these CIA expert doctors, we find out that he is potentially suffering from what is called Havana syndrome, a phenomenon first reported by military personnel working at the U.S. Embassy in Havana. And so the syndrome has generated significant media attention in the top-tier outlets, consisting of the investigations that went over time to determine that Andrews had been targeted with an advanced energy weapon. And so this memoir is being repped by his manager, and he's also handling his life rights and producing the adaptation for film or TV, as well as this book that has been greenlit. So it sounds like there's going to be foreign publishing rights as well. So this story is going to come forward as being the truth. And it's been also given the green check mark of approval by Lou Elizondo himself, saying that this is a true story. What are your thoughts on this headline?
Well, I think this opens up a whole new ball game for what we're talking about when it comes to UFOs and contact. I mean, look, when you're getting into a lot of these stories, Tim, that military personnel have had close encounters, it's so vague, yet it's so intriguing. Where are they happening? When did they happen? How close were they flying? In a C-130 Hercules or a C-5 Galaxy, or was this another maybe an unknown Rendlesham type of case that's happened in the continental U.S.? I mean, there's so many of these stories that just opens up a brand new path. I'm just absolutely intrigued by it, man. Absolutely intrigued.
It'll be great when this book comes out. And in a linked story, the Daily Mail actually has an exclusive about potentially forensic neuroimaging expert Christopher Green coming forward and talking about how he has dealt with hundreds of patients who were injured or died after interacting with UFOs. And in this exclusive, in this quote, it says they woke up burned or injured, and a top brain expert and CIA officer reveals hundreds of military servicemen suffering brain damage or symptoms of mysterious Havana syndrome, and even death occurring after UFO contact. And in this quote, he continues to say, "I'm the go-to physician in the Department of Defense for unexplained morbidity and mortality." And he told this directly to Daily Mail in this exclusive interview. And so in the quote, he continues to say, "I do look at injuries and mortality from an unidentified or UAP's perspective, and he considers them as part of the phenomenon that is causing these ailments." So Kit Green, or Christopher Green, a professor at the Wayne State School of Medicine in Detroit, was in 2010 commissioned to write a paper by a secret $22 million defense program. And he describes symptoms of multiple sclerosis, brain damage, and burns among patients from the quote-unquote close encounters of the third and fourth kind events. He said symptoms of many of the cases were similar to Havana syndrome, a mysterious illness affecting diplomats and officials in embassies around the world. Continuing on, Green said many of his patients experienced these burns and brain damage, that 1 in 10 died within 7 years of their reported encounter. And we don't need to get too deep into this, but this comes in a new article here again from dailymail.co.uk in the exclusive that Kit Green gave to them. And there's even more facts within this article, but what do you think about some of this fact coming forward and being associated with UFO?
I'll tell you, you know me, I love tying things together, Tim. Okay. Elizondo was head of ATIP when the 22 million was given out. Kit Green confirms that a lot of these studies were happening, and money now was supposed, in at least my understanding of it, money of that was supposed to study these, but it never really got there in that 22 million with the ATIP program. And so I see Elizondo right now tying this all together. The sad part about it, because we try and give both sides of the story here, the sad part about it is this is another "you got to trust me" story. But this is bigger than that. And we've heard, people on this show, including Random Guy, who is tied up with NDAs up the yin yang, who will, explain, look, we don't have a choice but to give you that "trust me, bro" sentence on that. If this is true, what Elizondo is saying, and Kit Green is saying, who is one of the top scientists over the decades regarding this subject, you could put him as a lesser known Gary Nolan type of scientist, or I believe he worked a lot with Robert Bigelow back in the day as well. We are looking at some serious contact with the phenomena. Was this lined up contact? Was this contact like Close Encounters of the Third Kind at the end of the movie, where they had these military personnel surrounded and little aliens were coming out of the ship and trading the humans that they had once taken for new humans? This opens up a whole new aspect, man, of this entire subject. And it's phenomenal to me that this is even coming out right now, considering the nuts and bolts crowd continues to grow with new groups popping up, and they all want to be a part of the science of it all. Now we're getting into humanity. This is where I like it, is we get into the human side of everything. Okay. And you know, I want to know more. Where did these happen? How many different incidents have happened like this? You know, they're giving us less than crumbs right now. Is this what's being discussed in the backdoor hearings of this subject? I mean, doesn't it make you wonder, Tim?
Well, we've been getting hints at the fact that some whistleblowers have already come forward, and we've heard wind. At some point, a doctor was one of them. We could maybe surmise that Dr. Kit Green was potentially the person that went forward and spoke on this. And now we hear him talking to potentially the media across the globe. So maybe he is our whistleblower that's coming forward representing the witness and the experience and the close contact and some of the fallout that can come from close contact. It's definitely important. And you're somebody that has always professed the importance of that aspect of this topic to be brought forward. And so I think you're absolutely right. This could be the first step in that direction. And I would love to see Dr. Kit Green being that representative, because we've seen he's been in the headlines in the background on this topic for a very long time, well experienced. And if he is the go-to guy for the Department of Defense with these cases, then he should be the representative going forward as a whistleblower on the truth behind these close contacts.
Absolutely. And you know, we need, this is where we stressed him about the need for transparency. If we know this is all going on right now, and these are situations that are happening within the US government and within the branches of the military, where they are able to set up these close encounters where people are getting injured, I'm curious to know how they are getting injured. Are they getting injured by touching the craft, being too close to craft, and having the radiation go on them? Are they walking onto craft? This opens up so many interesting questions, you know, that we really don't know. That would mean if they are near craft, that they are probably not approaching those craft with any type of radiation detection equipment or proper radiation gear. You know, it'd be just like you and me in our civvies walking up to a UFO, and you know, we would be, you know, radiated. I guess that would be the word I'm looking for. Pardon me if I'm wrong, but I'm curious, how is this happening? Why is this happening? Where is this happening? This is the type of stuff that I enjoy talking about. This is the type of stuff where, you know, I wish we couldn't have one of those "we can't tell you." But look, if they are lining up any sort of meetings between aliens and humans, how often has it happened? How long has this been going on?
Right.
We got about a minute, bud.
Right. Well, I think it's interesting that the facts seem to unfold right in front of us now, and we're getting it in the headlines. You don't have to look too far now to find something on this topic. And the fact is, they are bringing evidence forward. I would consider medical evidence as good as any evidence out there. That is a result of an interaction. And so I think that that is an absolutely fair way to look at this, because it's the personal aspect. You know, it's the psychological, the physical, and everything else that comes with that contact. And so I think that that is the most important part to be bringing forward. The nuts and bolts stuff, yes, it's important. That is a flight potential hazard, let's just call it. maybe in the reality of the government. But this way, we're bringing some facts forward.
Absolutely. Tim Seanor and the UFO report continues when we return on Spaced Out Radio. God, that was a good topic right off the bat, wasn't it? When we come back, we are going to get into Madagascar UFOs and UUP. Are you ready for UUP? We'll be back on Spaced Out Radio. That was a good topic.
Solid. You had a good show tonight. Samantha is so knowledgeable. That was my first time actually seeing her. And that was just a great interview. And wow, mind-blowing stuff. She's an encyclopedia.
When we go camping this summer, you make sure you bring your family up.
No way.
Bring your cameras.
You think I'm chicken? I raised a bunch of chickens. I'll bring my cameras, but boy, I'm gonna bring the long lenses so I can be far away from you guys or wherever. I don't know. No. Yeah, it's exciting stuff. It really is. And it'll be great to do investigations with you guys and, film you guys doing investigations potentially. Camping in the woods with Bigfoot. What?
Yeah, man.
Seems crazy.
We're going to do it.
Timbit becomes Tim Speck on the horizon.
We are going to go to Tim Hortons every day and get you Timbits.
Oh, that's great. I don't eat that stuff. But I'll tell you what, I love coffee. I've heard it's the best coffee around. So
yeah, well, you're going to get some Timbits too. Because we got to have you posing eating a Timbit.
You got to do it. Okay. All right.
Yeah, you're going to have to take a Timbit for the team, buddy. Take a Timbit for the team.
Do I look like a junk food guy? I'm probably.
Well, you are double extra small.
I'm not a double extra small, just small. 5'9" and I wear small.
Oh, I haven't been in small since probably grade 8.
Hey, I wear a 10.5 though, so you do the math on that.
I'm only a 9.
What? How tall are you?
5'8" and 3/4.
Oh, okay. The math checks out there. 3/4.
Yeah, God couldn't give me that extra 1/4 inch, man.
You're like a 6-year-old and 3/4. How old are you going to be this year? How old are you now? Are you 50 and 3/4? 7/8?
I'm 49 and 9/10.
I think it'd be 12ths, wouldn't it be? Give me out of 12ths.
Yeah, 10.5.
You and fractions up there in Canada, you're all metric. You have no idea what fractions are.
Beautiful.
I bust your chops.
Love it.
The only part of the world where they have a 7-day work week. There's no weekends up there. This guy.
It's amazing how that works, eh?
Bigfoot takes no breaks.
Nope. Excuse me. Just can't wait. Yay, the big 50. You know what I do every birthday year?
Chop down a tree.
No. Although that would be fun. You've never cut down a tree, have you?
Of course, dude. I'm from upstate New York. Yeah,
you have cut down.
I've chopped down. Yeah, I'm actually a country boy.
You have not.
I worked on a horse farm till I was 16.
I'll let you
trust.
My saw.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Knock a little lean-to out, no problem.
Oh yeah, you're a lean-to kind of guy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, good stuff. Love it. I love it.
Now you know why. Now you know why I chose Samantha for what we're doing.
She doesn't seem to be afraid of it. She's fearless. No. Yeah, fearless. That's the big thing. Yeah. Standing your ground and being happy about the interaction. And I was wondering, like, I'm sure intention is a big thing. And so you got to be strong in mind and heart. So, yeah, she seems like the perfect person for it. Right? So good on you for having her as a guide. Makes sense.
Totally. Hey, big thank you tonight to Blue Cruise, Deb, Derek, Thomas, Gizmo, Yum Yum, Random Gee, Kira, and Trisha for the amazing super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support of SOR. We really do appreciate it. And our store is open on our website, so check it on out. Here we go. Final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with the UFO report. We're going to head to the beautiful island of Madagascar, not for a Disney movie, but apparently we may have some aliens going on there, Tim.
We do indeed. Back in 1954, in fact, on August 16th, there were, in fact, aliens. And on an August afternoon in 1954, several hundred eyewitnesses claimed to have seen a UAP. It remains one of the most intriguing cases to have occurred in southern Africa. So on the background of this case, the fifth largest island of the world, Madagascar, is renowned for its unique flora and fauna. Although its country boasts plenty of natural resources, it remains one of the world's most impoverished nations. And on the afternoon of 16th of 1954, personnel at the Air France office observed what was described as a large green sphere moving quickly through the sky. Several observers thought the object had been a meteorite, as they had watched it move behind a hill in the distance. Anticipating hearing a loud crash upon impact, however, no sound was heard at any time, even as the object passed through the sky above them. And so after approximately 1 minute, the object reappeared from behind the hill, flying on course that brought it directly over the perplexed observers at the Air France office. From that vantage point, the object appeared to be metallic and resembled a rugby ball, and preceded by a clearly detached green lens-shaped portion, which produced a trail of sparks as it passed over them. The object was estimated to be 40 meters in length. Some observers compared it to the size of a Douglas DC-4 aircraft. So the observers of the object said the odd lens-shaped frontal portion appeared to separate from the main body, moving ahead while also producing sparks. So the Air France employees said the object flew at an estimated height of no more than 100 meters, and based on comparisons with the height of a nearby hilltop. So as the object passed over Tenerife, the observers said electrical lightning in various shops and residual homes suddenly blinked out. In addition to the electrical disturbances, animals also appeared disturbed by the object. So the object reportedly moved towards the west and passed over a nearby park where zebu cattle herds were ranging, causing a violent fright reaction among them. And then there was an appearance of a second object. Within 2 or 3 minutes of the first object's passing over Tenerife, a second object described as the identical to the first appeared. First observed approximately 150 kilometers away over a nearby farm. The second object also disturbed the cattle in the area, prompting farmers to call for help, fearing that the animals may drown as they fled into nearby marshes. Upon its sudden appearance, some witnesses questioned whether the second object observed had in fact been the reappearance of the initial UFO. However, the witnesses eliminated that for a single object to have traversed that distance between the location where the initial observation had ended and its reappearance over the farm school would likely have required a speed of close to 3,000 kilometers an hour. And so, following the UAP event, a scientific commission was gathered at the direction of General Pierre Floquin, Commander-in-Chief of the Air French East Africa in Madagascar at the time of the incident. And despite the knowledge of the commission, decades later it was determined that no trace of the investigation could be found at the Air Force archives, although it was found that and featured in an incident and an archive newspaper journal and a few other almanacs. So, Dave, what's your thought of this recollection? And they do actually have some witness recollections here that I could include. It just goes on into some detail, but this wasn't a case I had heard of. What are your thoughts on this?
I'd never heard of this case either. But the one thing that I love about this, Madagascar, as you mentioned right off the bat, it's a very poor country overall. And this case just goes to show and prove that you don't have to be in a first world nation, a second world nation, in order to have these interactions with UFOs. Okay. It's something that the phenomena that we talk about all the time really doesn't care about pay scale. They really don't care about where you live. If you're living in a mansion or, a cardboard shanty, it really doesn't seem to matter to the phenomena. When they arrive, they arrive. And the people could be rich, poor, a great dental plan or no teeth at all, unemployed, a lawyer or a doctor or somebody who's just getting by. And that's why I think reports like this are very important, Tim, in order to add up into the entire catalog. Granted, it's not going to make a difference on any sort of disclosure movement, but what it does is an important piece of the puzzle that when we put everything together, we can tell that the phenomena is not biased towards whether you live in the United States or you live in China or you live in Madagascar where this happened, or London, England, or Canada, or Brazil. It's happening everywhere. And I think that really helps open the eyes to what this phenomena is all about.
Indeed. And what's so interesting about this case in particular is that it caught the interest of Charles de Gaulle, who eventually initiated some inspections and official research into the study of UFO, with partnering up with Jean-Luc Bruno, the former Inspector General of Commissioner à l'Énergie, so the Atomic Energy Commission for France. So very interesting to see that this was a very impactful case, and there were actually eyewitnesses that came forward and gave their accounts as recently as 2004. And so that was one of the witnesses that was tracked down. At 87 years old, he was still remembering that and considered a credible witness, which is a huge factor when it comes to the legacy of this topic. And Dave, I don't know if you have the link there, but I think it'd be great if you could just read out the source of that, and then we'll move on to the next one.
Well, I have to pull it up because you have it on my phone here. The source of that. So I'm going to have to click on the article here.
You don't have to. If I can do
the Enigma Labs.
Indeed. a tasty little dive into some of their historic records that they've been able to find and put together on the topic. Some
Wow. Look
tasty
at
little
you.
details.
I know you're a big fan of Enigma Labs.
I just want to stay down the middle, and I want the fact that they bring something to the table. I want to bring it. So I thought it was such a good historical case I'd never
No,
heard of personally.
I agree with you. I
Yeah,
agree with you on that. All
cool.
right. Now, we've
Sit
got 2
down
home
and
runs
buckle
here.
up.
Yeah, we got 2 home runs here, and you know what?
This
Now
one's
we're going
tough.
to get into it. So
Yeah.
it's no longer USO, which is underwater, or what is
Submerged.
unidentified submerged object.
It's
We're
been
now
rebranded.
we're now UUP. UUP.
Sorry.
That is horrible. That is a horrible acronym. UUP? Yeah. Don't you?
UUP? Oh, I definitely do.
Oh,
But
twice a night
this,
and then in the morning.
yeah, sometimes during the night, I have to get up.
Yeah. My goodness.
Ain't like it used to be, but I'll tell you what, the unidentified undersea phenomena acronym UUP has officially made its way to the lingo of the military. And so the deep, dark depths of the ocean have always been a source of mystery and intrigue, from ancient legends of sea monsters to modern tales of advanced underwater technology. There's no denying the fascination with what lies beneath the waves. And so one aspect of this intrigue is the phenomenon of unidentified submerged objects, USOs, which have recently been given a rebranding to unidentified undersea phenomenon, UUP. So this new shedding light on the mystery in the rebranding of UUP, or unidentified, and this is great, in the conversation here they call it unidentified undersea objects, bringing UUO into play in the conversation, talking about, anyways, it's just fun. But this is coming through a former Navy oceanographer and administrator of National Office of Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, and the Pentagon's All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, ARROW, reveals that unidentified undersea objects have been rebranded to unidentified undersea phenomenon. And this change mirrors the renaming of UFOs to unidentified aerial phenomenon by the military to remove all associated stigma. And so researchers who have uncovered this information suggest that individuals seeking specific details on these underwater objects through the Freedom of Information may request documents containing the term USO, but may want to consider bringing UUP into the conversation when making that document request.
Let's not say we did, okay? There's nothing wrong with USO. There's nothing wrong with UFO. Okay? There's nothing wrong with it. UUP, I don't even know where to go with this one, and the ridiculousness that absolutely follows it up.
The funny thing is they're linking the origin to some of the paperwork relating to the Nimitz incident. So actually that term started way back then in the seeding by the military to potentially now bring it into full-fledged vernacular. So it was due to come. But I could see it when I brought it forward. I knew you were going to love it because you love it when acronyms change. And your audience knows I love to poke the bear. And so I brought it to you with...
What is the purpose of changing it? Don't give me the government jargon on, well, we have to make things sound more professional and more accurate with everything. No, you don't. Tim, help me out here because I'm struggling.
Well, according to the military, it's to remove the associated stigma. And if you want to believe them, then that would be the answer. But personally, I think it's to confuse people. It's to make it harder to FOIA or request information. I think it is one of those things where it makes a witness less credible if they don't use the proper terminology at the time of their description. It's all kinds of ways to undermine the topic of any witness or any sighting, any piece of data that lingers. It's a way to confuse the undersea topic in a new way, which I find interesting. So, if you want to step back and say, why now? I think it's because they're starting to see more activity in their ocean. They're starting to realize that the description they currently have may not fit within what they're finding. So they're having to rebadge it to kind of fit what they're seeing. And I would like to say that potentially is that we're seeing a learning curve here with their terminology. If you're going to see anything potentially positive with this.
Do we really need these terms changed? Honestly, for the sake of sanity, can we just call it the sake of sanity right now? You know, I'm just not a fan, Tim. I got to change topics because this one's going to make me angry. Let's go to Area 51.
Oh, let's stand by while I bring that forward. Caught me off guard there. I thought we were going to linger on that, but I can see you're turning red.
I'm trying to turn over a new leaf here.
You're doing well. I like that cheek has been turned. Yeah, you're turning the cheek. So Area 51 manager says flying saucer and live being were recovered at a secretive site. A former manager of a defense contractor that used to run the notorious Area 51 claims that the remains were once recovered that included both flying saucer and alien bodies. And so the U.S. government found a crashed ship and live being, according to this former manager of Area 51. And the defense contractor EG&G ran the notorious site at the time, and a senior manager there, Alfred O'Donnell, has since claimed that, in a quote, they did have a flying saucer that had been recovered from New Mexico. And in an interview with investigative journalist George Knapp, O'Donnell also claimed to have claimed that there was a live being also recovered. And so in this story coming from dailystar.co.uk, Knapp reported that O'Donnell said in a quote, "We didn't know what it was. To tell you the truth, we couldn't communicate with it. In the beginning, we didn't know what it was, and we didn't know where it was from, and we didn't know what to do with it." So moving on in this story, it sounds like there was quite a few people that may have come in close contact with it. And Knapp said that this person claimed that they knew about crash saucers, recovered materials, and what sounded like a Roswell type incident. In this is particularly a female that came forward. The woman allegedly refuses to have meetings with Knapp over the supposed intimidation by unknown agents in the past. In 1990, leading politicians encouraged investigations into these claims. And so they were led by congressional staffer Richard D'Amato, but he was unable to verify those claims. So it sounds like his official on-the-record statement was, however, in a quote, "I met with a number of people who had made a public statement on the matter, and I had reported it and my conclusion to the senator that on the basis for such allegations, it did not appear to merit any Senate investigation." So beyond the inquiry on behalf of the senator, there was no personal opinion made on this over the past 20 years. And now it's being brought back into light with Alfred O'Donnell coming forward and talking with George Knapp. After all this time, Dave, do you feel that it is possible that the ex-manager of Area 51 actually had eyes on a live being and crash saucer from New Mexico?
Well, first off, we have to understand that Area 51 today is not what it was 30, 40 years ago. Okay. From my knowledge of study and research of people I've talked to, Area 51 back in the day was a CIA run operation where they hid a lot of things and tested a lot of things, from flight to missiles to bombs and nuclear bombs and everything in the Nevada desert. But over the last 20, 25 years, since the CIA pulled out of Area 51 and was replaced by Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, and many other flight and aerospace companies, it's become more of a testing ground for potential technology as these companies test more military type of drones and type of aeronautics that will lead us into eventually the 22nd century, right?
Yeah.
So I find that very, very interesting to see what is going on there, because it really is a tale of two different Area 51s. You know, I mean, I've talked to people who've worked there. You've talked to people who've worked there. And every time we bring up aliens, you know, it's a resounding no. Never saw a thing like that. Never saw anything happen. Never saw UFOs. Never saw things that look like UFOs, but happen to have a Stars and Stripes logo on them. Okay. I mean, you and I have talked to people like that. That's our job to do that. You know, so it's very interesting that if they did have craft and or a live alien, which has been reported for decades coming out of Area 51. Remember the Skinny Bob rumors, and then there was the J-Rod rumors and Valiant Thor rumors. If that was the case, it happened long ago, which would be very hard to find any sufficient evidence publicly on it.
That's right. And let's also consider the date. Like you're saying, it's this pre-heavy digital age, and internet wasn't around, right? And this was a defense contractor, EG&G, that was running the site at the time. And you're talking about a person that was the senior manager there with all access. So if there was somebody in the know, this is potentially the person that would. And so maybe there are no records of it. If there were files, those are easily burnable, and not easily traced as far as digital age files are, right? And so if there were things they wanted to hide, they may have been easily hidden. And maybe they left at the same time as they brought in the computers. And those files were either kept or not. And if it was part of that organization, probably not. And this is all hypothetical, but I'm saying something like this potentially could still slip through, even with the knowledge that and I'm sure you have. This is still considered a potential. Even with the people that I know, this is still something that could have happened, because it is at a time that things could happen like that.
You got that right, Tim Seanor. Another great UFO report for us on Spaced Out Radio. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god of self. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too, unless they use the term UUP. Good night.